All right, folks, your car guy here again. Today, the 2008 Honda Civic. You've seen it before. You probably saw one of my recent videos where we talked about it losing coolant, and I told you I'd be fixing that shortly. And what we found was that the inside of the neck of the radiator neck here was actually bad, and I'm going to show you the parts that we decided to get to fix it. This is your Honda part number, that 19050 RNB-A01. That's your Honda part number. We are also going to replace the surge tank. So the 19101 RNA-A01 tank was $9 on Amazon. This, I believe, was about $24 Amazon Prime, and of course free shipping because I have Amazon Prime and I buy a lot of stuff through Amazon. So this is going to be a simple repair. We'll walk you through it. First things first, we'll get the hood open. Now I've let the vehicle sit to cool down a little bit so that it's not totally scorching hot when we do this repair. You see, we're going to change the neck right there and the bottle right there. In order to do that, we have to take off this front cover here in order to get to the neck bolts. And then there's going to be a clamp that holds the neck to a rubber hose up underneath. I'll show you that in just a second. So we'll get started with removing our push tabs. We've got one right here. You'll see that the center pulls up to pull it out and unlock it and then take it out. Got another one right here on the left side. We'll pull it up. Now this does go up under the sides right here, so you're going to take this push tab out and this one will just simply pry right up, and the one over on the passenger fender, so you can see those. Then we'll be able to lift this cover out of our way and get access to the bolts for the radiator neck. Okay, so to get these clips out, I told you we just pull this center up. A screwdriver works well to get that center to separate, and you'll see how it's come up and that unlocks that tab. I also like sometimes using my side cutters because I can reach under and grab. Now once that center is up, that pulls out, we can just set it aside to work. Same thing as this one here. Like I said, a screwdriver works well, or as you get some room, you can get these side cutters to get down underneath and provide a little fulcrum. Comes right out. These side ones, because they don't have a locking tab, they're just a simple push in. Just put pressure right under them. It pops right out. You get enough room to do your work. Same thing over here. We just pop that up. Now this one has a few more going back through here, but once I have that up, I can work my panel in and out. Now, this panel tucks up under the front grille slightly, so when you pick it up, you got to pull it back a little bit to expose and get this front up. Now I've got to come back forward and over the hood latch to get it out, and it'll just slide right out like that. Okay, with that cover out of the way, we can now see we've got our two 10mm bolts here. There is a clamp that you can see right here, which is a squeeze clamp. The prongs are on this side. If you need to get access, you can take your battery out. If you do take your battery out, always disconnect the negative first before you disconnect the positive. Then you can take out these two screws here. This simply lifts off. This is a wire retainer. Then we're also going to change the washer bottle. Now because we're going to take the washer bottle out, we'll probably go ahead and remove this whole piece here, which has another push clip here and here, and that'll give us a little more room to lift the washer bottle up and out. The washer bottle is simply locked in with a tab. There are no bolts that attach to it. This transfer tube we'll reuse that goes between the radiator and the washer bottle, but our new washer bottle has a cap. Our new radiator has a cap as well, or our radiator neck. Before we start though, we want to make sure and release the pressure. It's best if the vehicle's cold, but you're going to want to open this, and if it's hot, hold a rag over it to help you relieve pressure. Work it back and forth if it's got a pressure buildup. Now, in this case, I'm expecting that our coolant level is going to be a little low, but it's actually not. It's stayed up pretty well. So we're going to have to drain a little bit of coolant out in order to change this without getting a big dump of coolant onto the ground. So you'll want to put a tray underneath, and then underneath on the radiator, and I'll try to get a view from up here. If you look right down there, there's a square hole that shows through to the concrete, and there's a little white tab there. That is the radiator drain cock. We can simply put a pan under that, twist that cock open, and it'll let enough coolant drain out that we can do this without making a mess. Okay, I've opened the petcock valve down there, and I've got that draining into a pan. And I don't need to drain a lot. I'm just looking to get my fluid level down below the upper radiator hose here. And so, you know, we're talking not even a quart of fluid probably that we're going to drain in order to be able to do this without spilling any coolant. All right, I'm going to give one warning for safety's sake when we're doing this. Because of where our clamp is up under here and the proximity to the battery positive post, we got to be very careful. If you're to take a metal tool and get it between the metal of the car and that battery post, if it's not got the plastic cover on, you could short out the battery, which could cause sparks, ruin the battery, and in worst case scenario, the battery could actually explode. So be very careful when working, or if you want to just be safe, simply disconnect your negative cable post, and that way it won't matter if you hit it. If this is disconnected and it's simply a 10mm right here, take that off, set it to the side. That's what we're going to do just for safety's sake, so that we don't risk damaging the battery or having it explode and injure anybody. All right, I've got my negative disconnected on my battery. Next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to loosen up this hose. And what I'm doing, I'm using my hose clamp pliers, but anything, and I'm just going to twist a little bit while gripping on them. What that does is that breaks free that hose and makes it easy to pull off. If you just try pulling, those hoses tend to adhere themselves pretty well to the plastic or metal, and you see it slid right off. So it makes it easy, just twist a little bit. Next, we're going to take off the clamp there by squeezing the two tabs together. Let me see if I can give you a good view of it. So you get that wire out of the way. You'll see this rectangular hoop of the tab, and then there's this tang here, and you're going to squeeze those together with a pair of pliers. In this case, I have hose clamp pliers that'll lock. These work very well if you have them. If you don't, a simple set of pliers, and I can twist that around to the other side to where it's easier to work with, slide it off, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to work back and forth on this hose to break it loose. I'm going to do that before I take these bolts out, just to give me a little more leverage, and I may take the bolts out and then be able to twist the whole body of this to break it free once I have the clamp out of my way. So what I've done here is I went ahead and I rotated this clamp around to where I could get to it on this side where I've got some room with my pliers. The way I did that is I simply shoved down from over here on this piece, which kind of took some of the spring pressure off of it. Then I took my pliers, clamped it together, slid it back. Then I'm going to just take my pliers here, stretch them over the hose, and work it a little bit gently. I don't want to damage the hose, but I want to break it free. So a little bit of gentle work just to help break it free. Then I can take out my two 10mm headed bolts, and we can just twist that whole neck and change it out. Action. Okay, so this is why we're replacing this neck. If you look inside here, I don't have this raised lip ridge here that I need. And the reason I need that, it's not just about the cap sealing on this upper surface, because if I seal here, I can still flow right into my overflow tank without any pressure being applied. The cap seals in two places. It seals here on this inner ring, which is what seals against this lip, and then it seals on the outer ring, which just seals it so it doesn't come out the top of the radiator cap. This seal here is what holds the pressure, and you want that pressure because it makes your cooling system more efficient. If you're not having the pressure, it means you've got a leak if you don't have any pressure. But without that pressure, your cooling system's less efficient. It could even cause overheating under circumstances like heavy load or on a really hot day. So this is critically important for that reason. Okay, so with the new neck, I'm simply gonna stick it right in here. It's gonna slide in nice and easy. There's a little bit of coolant left over on it to help lubricate it. Then I'm going to just take my two 10mm bolts, re-secure the neck here. I'll tighten those up in a minute. I'm using a quarter drive ratchet just because it's easy for me. Put our overflow line back on, and then we'll simply grab our clamp here with our pliers, and we're going to slide our clamp back into place to where it's up over the ridge of the neck there, and secure it on. So there we have it. We're pretty much installed here. It really didn't take any time at all. We're going to go ahead and change the recovery bottle next, and that should only take us a few minutes. Okay. I'm going to remove this little side panel, just get underneath, pop up these rivets. In doing so, it'll free that panel up. The one that flew off will find it, trust me. And I can slide that panel out of the way. Now I have a little bit better access to get to my recovery bottle. Recovery bottle, same thing. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the hose from the cap. And remember, grabbing it and just giving a little bit of a twist helps break things free. In this case, the cap's not really secure. Then it goes through that clamp there, which you just twist it past. So I got the whole thing off with the cap, just pulled the cap out of the way. Now, just reach in and pull straight up on that recovery bottle, and it's going to come out just like that. What it is attaching on is this right here, slides into a bracket on the battery base, and that's all that holds that in. Very simple. Okay. Okay, with the new recovery bottle, this is our retainer that goes in the bracket. The bracket again is on the battery side, so have that towards the battery. Simply feed it down in, get that lined up with that bracket, and when you shove it down in, you should hear a nice positive click to know that you've got it locked into place. If you miss, it won't lock into place. So you got to be a little bit, apply pressure at the bottom towards the battery, and it locks into place. Then you're simply going to thread this hose back through the retainer there. Holds everything nice and neat in place, and we can simply plug it in to the cap. Boom. We've got all that taken care of. We'll put our new radiator cap on. We're going to put our panel back on right here on the side. So it's just going to slide back up underneath here, come in. Now, remember, don't lock this front tab in first, because that front tab still has to wait for the front cover here to go on. And if we do that too early, we're going to end up just having to pull back out this front rivet. So we'll leave it loose. We'll put the rivets in last after we slide our tray for the front end. Now the tray, remember, we've got to get underneath the hood release, and this is the safety catch that we're actually going under, and pick up the back of it. Now, we're going to slide it back far enough that this little part with the ribs that are sticking out, these little ribs, goes underneath the top of the chrome for the grill there to lock the front of it into place. And it's going to lay down, fit it under this side here. We're nice, we're laid into place. We can now put our rivets back in, our plastic rivets. Simply push them into place. Don't push the center down before you push those ones in. Then push the center in after it's fully inserted. If you push the center down, you're gonna have to pull it back up to get it in. And then simply put back in our plastic rivets, lock them into place, and we'll put in our remaining plastic rivets back here. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to top off the coolant. Make sure you've closed the petcock where you drained out a little bit of coolant before. If you were going to change your fluid, now would be a great time to do it. But then we're going to just check for leaks. That means filling it up, putting the cap on, running it to operating temperature, looking for leaks. And over maybe the next day or two, we're going to double check and make sure that we don't have any leaks. So that's it. Pretty simple job to fix that eroded neck. It's not expensive. We're like $35 into this. And in all, you should be able to do this job in well under 30 minutes. This is your car guy. Please don't forget to like and share the videos and subscribe to the channel and help us grow.